There are 5 model types for playable characters in Genshin Impact: tall male, tall female, medium female, and short female. Of all the model types, I feel like one stands out more than the others. And that's tall males because I'm an absolute simp. But other than that, I'd say short females stand out the most, or as I'll be referring to them throughout this video, Munchkins, because that name is adorable. They're the slowest model type, have the lowest jump, and have the least members of all model types at 12. Despite these drawbacks, a lot of the Munchkin characters are either some of the most popular characters like Klee and Nahida, or have very loyal fanbases like Sayu and Diona. Besides tall males only, this has actually been the model type only challenge I've wanted to do for the longest, and with Aino recently releasing and also being free, I feel now's a good time to try this challenge out. Here are the rules. I can only use short female characters. That means I can only use Qiqi, Klee, Diona, Sayu, Dori, Nahida, Yaoyao, Sigewinne, Kachina, Iansan, Aino, and Prune. All puzzles that are completed must be done by the Munchkins. This is different from what I usually do because I feel like with the variety of weapon types and elements, I'll be able to do most puzzles with no problem. No co-op for fighting enemies, no healing items in battle, and I can only use a trial character if they are a Munchkin unless I'm forced into using them like with Mawika in Notland Act 5. Now let's see if you can beat Genshin Impact using only short female characters. This challenge actually started as a different challenge. I had the idea to do Munchkins only, but I felt like it would be too hard to get the few Munchkin characters for my team, so I decided on something else. At the time the Sumeru Chronicled Witch was going on, so I decided to do Sumeru characters only. The challenge played out normally until I unlocked Wishing. I used my 5 event pulls on Sumeru banner and got nothing, so then I did the standard 10 pull. I'll take one Sumeru character, please. Sumeru character. Preferably a Sumeru character that's not gonna be...
Sayu.
I was just deciding to like, oh, should I do Munchkins only? Oh my god. In the context of Sumeru only, this wasn't a good pull. In the context of wanting to do Munchkins only, but starting Sumeru only, this sucked. Thankfully though, I was early enough into the challenge for it to really not matter. I quickly switched gears, and now the challenge starts. As for Sayu, she's actually quite a good character to start with. She's fast, has good swirl, heals, and is one of my favorite characters. This challenge was also started at the beginning of 6.0 or Luna 1. Why is that important? Because of the free 5-star event. Before you even complete Monster Act 1, you could claim a free standard 5-star. I think you know where this is going. We chose Qiqi. Qiqi's another one of my favorite characters, just like Sayu, and like Sayu, she's a healer as well. What's nice about Qiqi is her quite good normal attacks. They're fast, pretty strong, and feel good to use. Back to Act 1, we need to clear Amber's, Kaya's, and Lisa's domains. We could clear Amber's domain normally using Sayu, who can kinda pick up swirlable elements. Kaya's domain was similarly easy, and for Lisa's domain we skipped it by jumping off an invisible platform. That's the end of Act 1. Now we need to reach AR 10 to start Mondstadt. Usually during solo challenges I go over the character I'm using's pros and cons, but here I'm just gonna go over the drawbacks of only using Munchkins. One of the main ones is how slow they are. They're the slowest model in the game, and they struggle more with stuff like bunny hopping and wind currents. That's less of a problem for me because I already have Sayu, who is real fast. The biggest challenge in this playthrough is actually going to be the character pool. There's only 12 Munchkin characters we can get, 3 of which being event 5 stars. But more concerningly, there's only 2 short female bow characters, those being Diona and Sigewinne. Why is that bad? Because of Inazuma Act 2, which is the one with the archery demonstration. We need one of those 2 characters to get past that challenge, and neither are confirmed. Diona wasn't on banner for the entirety of this challenge, and Sigewinne is an event 5 star, so I need to get lucky to get either. To reach AR 10, I did some monster exploration and some ley lines, which got me to AR 10 pretty quickly. I had done some adventure handbook missions preemptively, so I could just claim the rewards as soon as I got the adventure handbook. If you don't know, the adventure handbook is an amazing way to get adventure experience, so doing these early propels your adventure rank really quickly. At AR 12, we unlock some commissions, which is another pretty good source of experience. After doing some more adventure handbook quests and a domain, I reached AR 15 and ascended Qiqi. I would ascend Sayu, but I can't get Crystal Marrow. I also ascended my other characters to get a wish from them, giving me a 10 pull on standard banner, alongside the one that I got for reaching AR 10. Give me a Munchkin. A Munchkin, please. Give me a Munchkin. I should have expected a bow, but sacrificial bow? Does that mean we're gonna get Diona? We're gonna get Diona, watch. I believe. Sacrificial bow, it's a sign. Noelle. Really? God damn it. It's to be expected to not pull a Munchkin immediately, but I'm worried about how long it might take to get a full team. After a bit more grinding, we reached AR 18, which is enough to do both Mondstadt Acts 2 and 3, so let's start them. We meet Ventoy, who takes us to Windrise to fight Eye of the Storm, which was a pretty easy fight aside from it occasionally flying up. Next we steal a Holy Lyre and then meet D-Luke, who, despite being great, is about as far away from a Munchkin as possible. He takes us to a Fatui hideout where we fight an agent, which was swiftly stunned by Sayu and Qiqi. Now we need to collect 3 teardrop crystals to summon Dvalin, the first of which we get from a Ruin Guard. Using Sayu's swirling capabilities, the Ruin Guard was quickly taken down. We open a random chest for the next one, and the last one is in a domain. At the end of the domain, we fight a Pyro Abyss Mage, which we once again swirled away with Sayu's elemental skill. By the way, while I was doing this Archon quest, I was also doing Amber's, Kaya's, and Lisa's story quests, which are useful for experience, and in the case of Amber's story quests, you have to do it for progression. Now we can summon Dvalin.
When I was a young boy.
Because of all that grinding earlier, we can go straight into Act 3, which starts with a Hydro Abyss Mage. I actually think that Sayu might be the best character to deal with Abyss Mage's shields. She can pick up elements and swirl them repeatedly, quickly depleting the Abyss Mage's shields. Inside of Stormterror's lair, we need to trigger 3 light actuators to reach Dvalin, but before doing that, I realized how close I was to having 2 10-pulls on Event Banner, which currently has both Dori and Aino, 2 Munchkins I would love to have. I did a bit of Spiral Abyss to get enough Prima Gems, and now I have 2 10-pulls. See those 2? Dori and Aino? We're gonna get one of them. Watch. First 10-pull. I'm gonna get one of them on the first 10-pull. Watch. Oh my. Really? Oh my god. But that's okay, because now we're gonna get one of them. Watch. Dori or Aino? Aino! Let's go! A brand new Munchkin for the squad, and she's actually quite a good one too. Her elemental burst has good hydro application, and her elemental skill is decently strong and can be used for traversal. Give me a Munchkin, give me a Munchkin, give me a Munchkin, fuck! Back to the light actuators, one of them has us take down a Pyro Abyss Mage. Good thing we just got Aino. Now time for Dvalin. Oh fuck, I accidentally used Venti's elemental skill. Now I have to do this part all over again. Yippee! They just barely didn't get a one-face fight, but it doesn't really matter. We still beat him easily. That's the end of Mondstadt. We now need to reach AR 23 to start Liyue, which, as you can see, will not be a problem. Before doing the Archon quest though, I want to get Dori. As I said, she's currently on the banner with Aino. I got Aino, but I still need Dori, and then I'll have a full team. I feel like it's a good time to start exploring Liyue. Liyue is probably the second best place to go for adventure experience, only behind Dragon's Mine. We collected some Geoculi, opened some chests, and completed some world quests like the Chi of Yore. After a good amount of that, I decided to go to Nodcry to fight Aino's boss. Fun fact, this was actually my first time in Nodcry. This challenge started in Luna 1, and I had never been in Nodcry before. I really like its vibe, and the landmarks stand out really nicely. Either way, Aino's boss is the Knuckle Duckle, and I absolutely hate it. When it's normally attacking, it's okay, but when it gains its shield, you're supposed to mainly use lunar reactions on the small robots to stun it, which my team can't do, so I kinda just have to dodge and wait. It's long and boring, but we eventually beat it. Hopefully I get 2 drops from it, god fucking damn it.
Here we go again.
With that done, I did a few runs of the Trial Grounds of Thunder, which got us to AR 25. After getting some portable bearings for Aino, I ascended both of them and leveled Qiqi. For reaching AR 25, we have to do the Ascension Domain, which was as easy as always. You know what time it is? It's Dori time, baby! Are you fucking kidding me? Aino constellation? But all I want is a Dori! I don't mind an Aino constellation, but I really just want Dori. Back to Liyue grinding, I did some world quests, opened some chests, and opened a few ley lines. Oh yeah, and with Aino I could finally clear the domain at the end of Amber's quest, because I could actually reach the Hilichurls on the high platforms with her elemental skill. Later I went to the Virgin Jade Chamber and then did a domain for a Shrine of Depths key. The enemies in there were strong, but we're stronger. Please just be Dori. Please. Fuck this game. Just give me Dori. Just give me Dori, please. I'm so tired of this fucking banner. What a fantastic game. I really shouldn't be surprised that Dori's taking this much Primo Gems. She's just greedy like that. To get a few more Primo Gems, I did the Dodoco Bomberman event, which I honestly completely forgot existed. You better be Dori.
Hi there, I'm Tainari, Forest Watcher of the Avidia Forest. My duty is to
Why do I
preserve
play this
both the
game?
rain.
Alright, this is ridiculous. At this point, I'm looking for pretty much anything to explore for Primo Gems. I tried to explore the 3 ruins in Lisha, but very quickly remembered I needed both Pyro and Geo, which ain't happening. Well, time for the last-ditch effort, Dragonspine. Dragonspine is not only a treasure trove of experience, it also gives you a bunch of Primo Gems and Fates. I spent a good long while exploring every nook and cranny I could remember, slowly accumulating more and more Primo Gems and Fates, before eventually I had enough for a 10 pull. Please just be Dori. Please. That's all I want. Yes! Finally! We finally have a full Munchkin squad! Yes! Finally, we have the silly purple and pink Munchkin. Dori is another one of my favorite characters, and she's actually quite underrated in my opinion. Her burst applies and deals consistent electro, her elemental skill has good particle generation, she's pretty good with elemental reactions like electro charge with Aino and super contact with Qiqi, and let's be honest, she is incredibly silly. What's not to love? Now that I have Dori, I need to get her materials, starting with her boss, the Electro Regisvine. It's easiest to take down using cryo characters, and it just so happens that our main DPS is Qiqi, so this boss is easy, allowing us to get Dori to level 50 fairly quickly. However, I still chose to grind my character's bosses for when I reach Air 30, because I'm really not that far away from reaching that rank. Yes, that means I fought the Knuckle Duckle more, and yes, I still hate it. Now time to finally start Leeway Act 1. Our team right now is Sayu, Qiqi, Aino, and Dori. Rex Lapis dies, we sneak past the absolute worst guards ever, and then we meet Child. Despite his name, he's not a Munchkin. First is Mountain Shaper, who gives us an energy recharge buff which easily sweeps through the Millilith soldiers. Next is Cloud Retainer, who we made some food for before skipping her domain using Aino's elemental skill. For completing her domain, we reached AR 30 and ascend our characters, which gave me a few wishes on standard banner. Give me a Munchkin. Give me a Munchkin. Give me Kachina. Yaoyao. Not Lisa. Next is Mountain Shaper, where we quickly find this guy's brother in the Amber on the mountain, and last is Zhao. The Ruin Hunter in this part of the quest was quite easy. Electro Charge from Dori and Aino is really useful. Well, that's where Act 1 ends. I could start Act 2 now, but for some reason I spent the next 2 hours grinding for Primo Gems. Was it worth it? Munchkin, 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 Munchkin. Make it be Yaoyao, or Kachina, or Iansan. Literally anybody, I'm gonna ignore that. You tell me. I guess I could use it on Dori. At least now I can go back to Liyue's Archon quest. Why am I still grinding? I guess I might have been working on building my characters more? I was trying to get artifacts, and I also leveled Prototype Rancor to level 60 for Qiqi. After doing a few more random things, I went back to Liyue's Archon quest. We meet Zhongli, who takes us to Dadaupa Gorge to boil some rocks, and while doing that we take down some pretty easy hilly trolls. We don't have a pyro character to heat up the pot, but Sayu is goated so she could heat it easily. Later we go inside Granny's teapot, which was filled with slimes, mainly cryo and electro ones. The electro slimes were really easily taken down, but the cryo slimes were slightly more annoying, but nothing crazy. Later at Boo Boo Pharmacy we meet our precious bean, Qiqi, who wants us to find a cocoa goat at the Guizhong Ballista. We fix it using some useful parts, and then fight some treasure hoarders. None of the individual treasure hoarders stood a chance, but them all being far apart and consistently walking around is kinda annoying. By the way, I absolutely love Qiqi's burst. It has a pretty wide AoE, deals good damage, and applies a fortune-preserving talisman which heals allies when you hit enemies with normal attacks, which will be useful for the artifacts that we get for her later on. Soon after that, Act 2 is over, and because of the exorbitant amount of exploring I did earlier in the challenge, we can start Act 3 immediately. We activate the windmill mechanism in the mountains with Sayu before going to the Guizhong Ballista to fight some Millilith soldiers. Same deal as with the treasure hoarders, but they didn't throw projectiles, so it was slightly easier. Later, Zhongli wants us to sing to some flowers. Usually I put a funny edit here, but this time, I'm gonna put Lumine singing as the background music for the rest of Liyue. Get ready to be serenaded. Doing that causes 3 Cryo Wappa flowers to appear. These foolish flowers think I'm screwed against Cryo enemies. Boulder Dash! Next is the man posing as a Munchkin. Even if we mainly are standing still and aren't that fast, it doesn't matter because of how easily telegraphed he is, especially in Phase 3. Glasses of Style, which is definitely of Style. That's the end of Liyue. Since we're already AR 30, all we need to do to start Inazuma is complete the 2 Dainzef quests. Both of these quests prominently feature Abyss Mages with a few other enemies sprinkled in. Most of the time in team challenges, you're not really going to struggle with Abyss Shields, especially with Sayu on our team. 4-star before the 5-star. What? Favonius Greatsword? What the fuck? Funnily enough, I actually have to grind my character's bosses again because we're about to reach AR 35. That's the AR you start Sumeru at, and we haven't even reached Inazuma. What a lopsided challenge. Anyway, all the bosses are still easy, besides the Knuckle Duckle, of course. I hate this stupid robotic bird Muhammad Ali so much. Either way, with those done, I ascended my characters. Just give me the 5-star already. There it is. Okay, Qiqi Constellation or 5-star weapon I can use. Or a Yume Mizuki. Okay, sure. Fine. Cool. I can't be too mad, but I do wish it was a Qiqi Constellation or a weapon I could use. Because we reached AR 35, we need to do the Ascension Domain, and it's another easy sweep. Now time for the Inazuma Prologue quest, which only has some easy treasure hoarders and slimes, as well as a very handsome Animo Man. Have you heard this man's laugh in this quest? With that done, we set sail into... Now that we've finally reached Inazuma, there's one thing I want to do before anything else. Well, I would do it, but first I need to escape Rito by doing the transport mission, where we fight some treasure hoarders in Ronin. It's a pretty easy and quick fight, and with that done, I'm off to Tarasuna. Why? Because I can finally get Crystal Marrow. After getting some and ascending Sayu, I went to Yashiori Island to finally fight the Magu Kenki, which is Sayu's boss. It's overall pretty easy, except for this bullshit move that I absolutely hate. After a few runs of that, I have all that I need for now.
Hey, you want to see something cool?
Ready?
I've never discovered a cool glitch or clip like that before, so that was awesome. I didn't really do much while in there, but still, it's cool. Back to the Archon quest, we need to break somebody out of jail while fighting the Tenryuga mission. They're all grouped up pretty close, making them easier to kill. With Act 1 done, we need to complete Ayaka's and Yoimiya's story quest, both of which being uninteresting, so let's just skip to Act 2, which starts with us fighting the Raiden Shogun, which translates to us just letting her hit us until it triggers the end of the fight. We save the Virgin from 2 Tenryuga mission soldiers, and he takes us to the Resistance camp where we meet Goru. And then, I stopped. Why? Because of a very specific, very big roadblock. In Inazuma Act 2, you need to complete an archery demonstration. There's 20 dummies to take down in a minute and a half, so you pretty much need a bow character. You can't cheese it with gadgets like the Harpastum, you need attacks. Sounds simple enough, let's look at our team. Shit, my only choice is to either stop playing until either Diona or Sigewinne are on banner, or grind for when they're eventually on banner. What did I choose? I chose option 2. Once I reached AR 40, I fought my character's bosses, all of them being the same amount of difficulty as before. Yes, including the Knuckle Duckle. Once we're done with that, I decided to do something that I've never usually done in these challenges, Inazuma exploration. I never really explore Inazuma in a challenge because I don't need adventure experience when I reach Inazuma. But in this case, I can't progress the Archon quest, so I might as well. I collected a lot of Electroculi, did the World Quest Tatara Tales, Sacred Sakura Cleansing Ritual, Orobashi's Legacy, and Sarai Storm Chasers, as well as collecting Electro Sigils for the tree, some domains, leveling characters, opening chests, and a whole bunch of puzzle solving, all while accumulating wishes on Event Banner. All the while, the quest marker at Fort Fujito is taunting me every time I open the map. Once I finished Sarai Storm Chasers, I remembered that I could try getting Ocean Hued Clam for Qiqi. It's by far her best artifact set, and it can make her even better as our DPS. I also worked a bit on other characters' artifacts, namely Noblest for Dori. After taking a bit of a break from this challenge, I came back during Lantern Rite, not only to get more Prima Gems, but to also get a free Yaoyao, as well as her outfit. I don't think I'll use her much, but she's another Munchkin, and she's legit one of the cutest characters in this game. A little bit later, the Mondstadt Chronicles wish was rerunning. This was a chance to get our first event 5-star Munchkin, Klee. so I used the many wishes I had accumulated. Did it work? Yep.
Of months.
My luck has been abysmal. It's now been 3 months since I first got stuck, and I'm still nowhere near a solution. I'm really at a loss. But Lantern Rite is about making wishes, right? With that being said, there's someone we met during it. Maybe she's the flame I need to finally burn away the storm. Who exactly? Well... A few months later, I was doing a random hangout stream with a fellow Genshin Challenge YouTuber named Ren's World VT, who you should definitely check out. I'll link her in the description. Anyway, I was playing my no wishing account when I suddenly realized the Fontaine Chronicle wish is currently out. And it has Sigewinne. When I remembered that, I quickly switched over to Munchkins only. I had no wishes from pulling for Klee, so... Okay, I pulled a Linny and did a magic trick. Sigewinne isn't guaranteed, but it's worth the risk to finally get past Inazuma. Please come home, Sigewinne. Come on, don't make me spend more money, please. 5-star, please! Sigewinne, I want to be free! Yay! Sigewinne!
Guys, I think he got Sigewinne.
By the grace of the Anima Archon, we're finally free. I kind of felt like just using Sigewinne to get past the archery demonstration, but no, Sigewinne deserves to be built. I've been stuck for multiple months and the Sigewinne-shaped salvation has finally arrived. The least she deserves is to be built, starting with fighting her boss, the Hydro Tulpa. It's kind of tanky and strong, but with my team having 3 healers, I didn't really have a chance of any member dying. Next I gathered some Maritime flowers, which I switched Sigewinne in to help with. After that I collected the underwater enemy drops, which I've always found quite annoying to collect. As is usual for Genshin challenges, I was also struggling with level up books, so I also grinded a few of those before trying to get some Song of Days Past pieces for Sigewinne. But I took out enemies way too slowly in that domain, so I switched gears to Deepwood Memories for Yaoyao, even though I'm barely using her. Funnily enough, she's the only character I have with a full 5-star 4-piece set. I'm also using the bad pieces on Artifact Strongbox for Ocean-Hued Clam pieces, obviously for Qiqi. After that I did a fair bit of Spiral Abyss before starting the event Phantasmal Pals, where we meet another certain Munchkin. I was skipping through this event's dialogue, but right when Prune appeared, I listened to every word she said. Ever since she was revealed, I knew I would like her a lot. Once she actually released, she quickly became one of my absolute favorite characters, probably in my top 10. I don't care if all we need to do is Archon quests now, I'm getting Prune. Of course, there's a problem with that. My luck with getting 4-star Munchkins has been abysmal, the only caveat being Sayu at literally the beginning of the challenge. Speaking of the event, I also played the minigames in it, including Dodeko Golf, a Uruguay platform that feels like a flash game, Mujina Subway Surfers, and a combat one I skipped. The Primo Gems I got from them sadly didn't yield anything, but to be fair I didn't think it would be that easy. But with the minigames of the event done, it's time. I walked up to the archery grounds with Sigewinne, started the demonstration, and finally cleared it. Not even the thunder could stop me like usual because I had already cleared it. With that, we're finally back to the Archon quests. At the front lines we take on some very easy Tenra Commission soldiers, and that's where Act 2 ends and where Act 3 starts. Are you kidding me? Oh my fucking, I just want Prune! Why Durin? This is the second time this has happened. If you wonder why I said this is the second time, well, we'll call that foreshadowing. We start by taking out some Ronin bordering Watatsumi Island. I don't honestly suspect any more fights being difficult. The main difficulty in this challenge was getting the right characters, and now that we're mostly past that, it's just a fun challenge. At Fort Mume, we activate the Electro Monuments with Dori and swiftly take down the Electro Lava Troll that spawns. We give the Virgin a horse tranquilizer and then go to the Delusion Factory where we fight a bunch of Fatui soldiers. This team honestly has surprisingly good synergy, with Dori applying Electro, Sayu swirling and increasing the power of elemental reactions, Aino or Sigewinne applying Electrocharged or Superconduct, and Qiqi being the DPS with her normal attacks and bubbles. We meet Scaramouche, he knocks us out, and then we meet the character that also got a buff alongside Qiqi. But who cares about them when... one moment. When we're about to meet... It's Sayu! At the Tenra Commission headquarters, we beat up some soldiers. I absolutely love Sayu's swirl capabilities. It makes groups of enemies stand absolutely no chance, not to mention how satisfying it feels to see all those numbers. Next is Senora. Interestingly, the weekly bosses are actually the most difficult part of these Archon quests, which is almost never the case. Because we're world level 6, which is unheard of for my challenges, the bosses actually out-level us, giving them a lot more HP than they usually would have in my challenges. It's really cool, actually. Now time for the glorified challenge account damage showcase. Sadly, Qiqi's bubbles aren't affected by the buffs you get in this fight, but Qiqi's burst was able to deal 15k, which is even higher than Fremene's 13k in this fight. That's the end of Inazuma. While Inazuma is complete, we're still no closer to getting Prune, and I really don't know if we'll even end up getting her. We don't have a ton of time, and I've exhausted a lot of the easier ways to get wishes. We're just gonna have to get lucky. Either way, to start Sumeru, we need to complete the Danesel's Chasm quest, but I'm not interested in that right now. I'm more interested in grinding for artifacts. I'm starting by trying to get gladiator pieces for Sigewinne because fuck it, DPS Sigewinne, am I right? If you didn't expect me to do at least one cursed character build, you've never watched my team challenges. Remember Elemental Mastery Ningguang? Good times. After fighting some weekly bosses, I switched to grinding for Nobilis for Sigewinne, and I ended up settling on 2-piece Nobilis and 2-piece Gladiator. As you can imagine, my resin is crying. With grinding done for now, I started the Danes of Chasm quest. All this quest really has is Abyss enemies, who are all an easy Sayu sweep for the most part. Even for the Hydro Abyss Herald, I remembered to bring Yaoyao to get rid of his shield way faster. With that done, I grinded a bit for Yaoyao to get her to level 70, as well as grinded a bit of artifacts before starting Sumeru. Unfortunately, I forgot to begin recording when I started Act 1, so I'll have to recreate the start of that quest. Act 1 serves us clearing out a withering zone, and with all the fungi being in water, Qiqi could easily freeze all of them. Later in the Dream Domain, we took down some easy hilly trolls with no problems. Now that the footage is back, I went to Sumeru City to get our Kasha terminal before going to Port Ormos and meeting Alhaitham. He wants us to get some knowledge capsules, which we get from our girl Dori. We test out one of the knowledge capsules we bought from her on some poor unsuspecting fungi, and later we fight a few Eremites at the docks, the first Eremite group of many in these quests. Spoilers, they're all easy. Yes, that goes for the ones in Act 2 as well, which mostly consist of dialogue. So we're skipping to Act 3, which starts with us meeting
The Doctor,
before going into the forest to fight more Eremites. To be fair to them, this group is usually the most difficult one. Which is not to say they're difficult, because god no, they're really easy still. Later we go into the desert.
No wonder you speak with such confidence, Sino.
You're a punk-ass bitch!
While we're there, we fight a few Rift Hounds. Can we talk about how Aino makes Shatter look strong? Shatter, one of the worst reactions. She's truly a short queen. Act 4 starts with even more Eremites. You might notice me swapping between Aino and Sigewinne, and I'm doing that because, well, I really like them both and I want to use them. At the Elderzal Hospital, we fight some Hilly Trolls and a Geo-Lava Troll. For the Lava Troll's shield, we of course have 2 Claymore characters on the team to deal with it, and after that it's easily taken down. Yaoyao triggers the Dendro monuments, and then we go to the Mausoleum of King Deshret, which has a bunch of fungi, most of which we could skip. One we couldn't skip had 2 flying Dendro fungi and 2 big Hydro fungi. Our team's good AoE came in clutch, easily hitting the Dendro fungi and making this fight easy. Last is Act 5, which once again starts with Eremites. There's only so many ways I can say this was easy. Later at Party's DI, we need to fight some Fatui soldiers. Besides taking down the Pyro Gun Guy's shield with the power of love, nothing else in this fight is worth covering. After a lot of plot, we need to go inside the Dias Foundry to fight more Fatui soldiers. While most fights in this domain are easy, something interesting happened in this domain. This guy is somehow shooting bullets with no gun. I'm so impressed with him. After that really funny glitch, it's time to fight Scaramouche. Phase 1 was pretty easy, and for the first time in this challenge, we can actually use an Archon Quest trial character with Nahida. Obviously, using a nearly fully built Nahida made this phase easy. Last is the polluted domain. The Munchkins somehow managed to launch the big Rift Hound, which I did not expect, and the Electro Lava Troll on the boat was easy as well. That's the end of Sumeru, and our reward is a few free wishes. I just wanted Prune! Is it so much to ask for just one 4-star character, Mihoyo? First it was Dori, now it's Prune. By the way, did you notice the time left on the banner? I have less than a day left to get Prune. Safe to say I won't be getting her, sadly. That sucks because she's one of my favorite characters. To start Fontaine, we need to complete the next Danes of Quest, Kari Barrett. After a bit of iridescent grinding for Sayu, I started Kari Barrett, which is another pretty easy Danes of Quest. The Cryo Abyss Herald didn't stand a chance against both Super Conduct and Claymore attacks. Oh yeah, for the cooking pot earlier in the quest that you have to light, I swirled Pyro onto Sayu using a Pyro Whopper flower, rushed over to it, and lit it. Sayu was the perfect character to get, I swear. Later, I actually finished Floor 8 of Spiral Abyss, which is my first time doing that in these challenges. At this point, I'm pretty much just desperately searching for any bit of prima gems I can get fairly quickly. I went Geoculi hunting, getting the Statue of the Seven to level 9 for the Adventure Handbook, just to get one more wish. This will probably be my last chance to get Prune. So please just give me Prune. Please. That was it. That was my last chance to get her for this challenge. Needless to say, I was really bummed out. I wanted to use one of my favorite characters, but I couldn't because I got unlucky. Of course, I forgot to start recording when I got Prune. But I got Prune in the last 20 minutes of the banner being available. Well, that's really anticlimactic. Whatever, I don't care because we got Prune. She's a good character, especially at C6, but that's not the reason I pulled her. I pulled her because look at her, she's so precious, oh my god! Despite that reasoning, of course I'm still gonna level her up. Her boss is the Frost Knight Hera. It's pretty easy to telegraph and out-heal after you get the hang of its pattern, it's just a little slow to take down. She's almost at level 70, but I'm running out of Mora. Doesn't help that I have negative resin, so I had to collect underwater Mora crates in Fontaine just to get her to level 70. Once she reached level 70, I tested her on Child. She's not too bad for having a relatively slapped-on build. Now that we finally have her, it's time for Fontaine. Act 1 starts with us meeting Linny and Lynette, who want us to collect some more maritime flowers for them, which Sigewinne did easily. At the court of Fontaine, we meet the man who's posing as a Munchkin again, who takes the only fight in Act 1. Act 2 has us investigating with Navia for a while before going into the underwater domain where we fight a bunch of clockwork mecha. They were easy, but honestly there's something about using Prune that just makes me so happy. Maybe it's because she's one of my favorites, maybe it's because I just barely got her, maybe it's because I feel she's really underrated, like how I felt playing Dori in her challenge. Whatever the reason, I'm happy I have her. Acts 3 and 4 are spent in the Fortress of Meropide with no combat, so we're going to skip to Act 5, which starts with the Tower Domain. I forgot to mention we met Sigewinne during this Archon quest. She's a very good Melusine and she deserves recognition. There's fights in this domain that are normally worth talking about, but they all pale in comparison to the final room in this domain, the 2 Hilichurl rogues and 1 Ruin Guard. But like I said earlier, no fights in this point of the challenge really even have the chance of being difficult. Later we put Farina on trial for not being the real Hydro Archon, and long story short this leads to us fighting 2 Hydro Garden mechs, which are not too bad, and the all-devouring Narwhal. Nivelette gives you Numa in this fight, but funnily enough I wouldn't have needed it if I brought Sigewinne. That's where Fontaine ends. To start an online we have to complete the Danes of Quest bedtime story, but I'm not interested in that. We're AR 50, which allows you to ascend your characters to level 90. None of my challenges have ever reached AR 50 before, and I usually wouldn't, but come on. Qiqi's been carrying us since the beginning, she 1000% deserves it. After fighting the Cryo Regisvine a few times and gathering Violet Grass, I ascended Qiqi and, eventually, got her to level 90. She deserves it. Now on to the Danes of Quest, which is mostly just more easy Abyss enemies. The Pyro Abyss Mages went down to Sigewinne and the Cryo Abyss Mages went down to Dori. Now time for Natlan. We meet Kachina and immediately after get her, giving us our 8th Munchkin. I briefly entertained the idea of grinding for her, but I took down Kangamoto too slowly for me to want to continue grinding it. Sorry Kachina, you're still really cute. At the Stadium of the Sacred Flame, we meet Wulani and Kanich, who are also taking part in the Night Warden Wars. During the teamwork part of the tournament, we get a trial Kachina and Wulani, which actually makes for an interesting challenge. Only using Kachina in support makes it slightly more difficult and interesting, and it was something I completely forgot would happen. After that, Kachina ends up winning the tournament. The Munchkins truly are amazing. Wulani takes us to the People of the Springs to chill out, which doesn't really last that long because they get attacked by the Abyss. The most important part of this is the Abyssal Pylon. This pretty much decides if Act 4 will be hell or not. But of course, Sayu was goated, so she destroyed it. Act 2 starts with us realizing that Kachina has fallen to the dark side, so we need to rescue her. While trying to retrieve her ancient name, we fight some Abyssal Saurians and a Pyro Abyss Mage, who I made sure to bring Sigewinne for. In the domain to reach the Night Kingdom, we fight more Abyssal Saurians and a Geolawachul, the latter going about the same as it did in Sumeru. In the Night Kingdom, we fight more Abyssal Saurians and then save Kachina. I could have used her in the fight against the Rift Hounds, but for some reason I didn't. Maybe I just forgot. But you know what I did use her for? The Pyro Abyss Lector. That definitely made this fight a lot harder, but thankfully I could get Pyro Crystallized Shields to avoid the Pyro attacks. Next is Act 3. We meet Zilan and Seatlali, the latter taking us to a Fatui camp to rescue Auroron. As vengeance for all the annoying troubles this fight gave me in Fischl only, we obliterated them. By the way, Auroron counts as an honorary Munchkin. So does Aoife. I mean, he did just turn 5. At the Children of Echoes, we take down an abyssal pylon using Kachina, and that's where Act 3 ends. Act 4 starts with more Fatui soldiers.
They fly now!
Does anyone else really hate fighting the Hunter-Seeker automations? They have weirdly high resistances and they're kinda tanky. By the way, Aino's gonna be in the party for the rest of the challenge. The rest of the fights can actually get kinda difficult, so it's best for us to use our strongest team. Now time for war. We have a lot of fights during the second quest, but they don't really pose much of a threat. Our team particularly excels against grouped up enemies, and most of the enemies in this quest are in dense groups. Not even the abyssal pylons or void ward enemies were that bad thanks to Sayu. With Act 4 done, we did the quick interlude quest, which mainly focuses on another Munchkin, Iansan. I kinda wish I got her, to be honest. For Act 5, we do a lot of preparation before entering the Night Kingdom to fight some Rift Hounds and some Void Ward enemies, both of which being pretty simply taken down. Now time for Gisoithoth. During the Archon quest, it forces you to use Malwika and Traveler, but for every team challenge I do the fight afterwards with my team. With the No Wishing team, it was honestly quite painful, but for the Munchkins, it was a cakewalk. Sayu could even stun Gisoithoth during the fight, which I couldn't even do on No Wishing with a Night Soul Blessing character in Kachina. Sayu is the best. With that done, we've completed Nalan. That means we beat Genshin Impact using only Munchkins. So listen, the battles in this challenge were really easy, and we coasted through most of the game, but I can't put a challenge that got stuck for as long as this one did on the bottom tier of my difficulty tier list. I think I'll put it near the middle of on the easy side. That seems like a good ultimatum. As for the challenge itself, it was a lot of fun. I really like every character I used, and it was a chance for me to use some of them either for the first time with Sigewinne and Prune, or again after a while with Qiqi and Dori. The character I used were Sayu, Qiqi, Aino, Dori, Yaoyao, Sigewinne, and Prune. The MVPs were obviously Sayu and Qiqi, who were the hard carries for the entire challenge. For the next challenge, I'm going to be using a character I really like. I may or may not have talked about her in this video. Who was it? It's Prune. Prune only is my next challenge. But until then, I'll leave you with that.